Yo, no need to fear, Raider Nation. I'm here with an auto wins below 12 months out the year. What's good? Yo, what's good, man? I just wanted to come back and hit you guys with a quick video. Today is decision day. So if you guys haven't heard the news, which if you're Raider fans, who hasn't heard the news? The Raiders and Josh Jacobs there at a bit of an impasse in regards to him signing a contract with the team. Today is July 17th. Today is the final day that he is able to sign a contract with the team. From here on out, he essentially has two options. It is either sign the franchise tender or sit out. Those are his only two options. So the question remains to pay or not to pay. And we ain't talking about going bald. But I'm not, just playing. But what I'm saying is that, you know, today is a very important day for Josh Jacobs, for the Raiders, because it is going to have a lot of implications. If we are able to sign him to a long-term deal or to a contract, not necessarily a long-term deal, but to a contract, it's going to probably be like a 3 or 4 year deal. If we do, we're able to move some of the money around, and that will free up some cap space that will allow us to maybe bring in a guy like Marcus Peters, or if we want to go out and grab any other free agents, which, you know, it's the main free agent period is done, but, you know, there will be the opportunity after roster cuts for us to kind of look at the waiver wire, or kind of look at, you know, that little bit of later bit of free agency that occurs after these roster cuts happen. Excuse me. So that will free up some money for us. They'll also, secure Josh Jacobs for the recent future, and it'll bring back a guy that was very, very important to what we were doing last year as a team. I think it is important to note that the reports have been out there that the Raiders have offered him a contract. And I will say that the fact that the contract details have not been leaked leads me to believe that it was a fair contract, and one that the Jacobs team does not want to get out. Generally, when these contracts, when they leak, they generally leak from the player side, and it's usually in an effort to make the organization look bad, especially if it's a low ball offer. So if Jacobs was offered a low ball deal, we would have heard about that, because that helps him get some leverage and get some traction in these negotiations, because generally the fans, they're on the side of the player in these situations, right? The fans don't care, usually how much a guy costs, where we draft a guy. Generally, all they care is that, he's on the team, or not necessarily where they draft a guy, but how much draft capital that they give up for a guy. Generally, that stuff is like secondary to them, right? Like hardcore fans, we care about that stuff, right? But the regular casual fans, they don't care how much Josh Jacobs is getting paid. We can give him $20 million. They don't care. They just want him on the team. And so usually, if there's a low ball offer, players and their teams, they will take advantage of that, right? Players and their agents and their marketing team and all that stuff, they'll take advantage of that. They'll leak that, and then that kind of put pressure on the organization to either offer a better deal, or fans will start putting pressure on the organization to offer a better deal. So the fact that it hasn't leaked, I believe that is a fair market deal. I personally wouldn't offer him anything more than $12.5 million a year average annual value. Now you kind of play around with the guarantees in there. Right now he's getting guaranteed, I believe it's $10.1 million on the franchise tag. So the Raiders have a lot of leverage here. There's not really a lot that Josh Jacobs can do to bend things in his favor. Sitting out, he can sit out, but I don't think that will really hurt the Raiders, to be honest with you. Not hurt the Raiders as much as he may think, or as much as a casual fan may think. Josh Jacobs is a very good player. He's a very good player. But before this past year, he wasn't really considered a very good player. He was considered a good back, right? He was considered a good back, but he wasn't considered the type of back that he's being considered as now. And I think Josh McDaniels and what this offense did for Josh Jacobs this previous year, I think that has a lot to do with how highly he's being regarded now as a player. We didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and most people, where they were worried, like, they were asking questions as to why. A lot of people assumed that he was gone. It wasn't as much of an uproar as we're seeing now from fans when we didn't pick up that fifth-year option, right? And we actually had him playing in the Hall of Fame game, and his name was being floated in trade rumors in the beginning of the year. We didn't hear that same kind of blowback. But now that he's had the year that he had last year, even though before that he had 3, average to slightly above average years, this last year is the one that really, really piqued the interest and put him on the radar of the NFL and of fans writ large. People inside the Raiders fandom, we knew who Josh Jacobs was, but now he's more of a household name because he was able to get that rushing title. So, like I said, though, man, we have most of the leverage here. He can sit out, but if he does sit out, Josh McDaniels is a guy who has been able to generate, rushing yards and rushing success with less talented backs. In 2021, he had Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, and Brandon Bolden, and he was able to put up 2,151 yards, right? This last year with Josh Jacobs, we only put up 2,056 yards, I want to say. That year, the Patriots were top 10 in rush yards and top 10 in yards per carry. They also, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, they also averaged like 4.6 yards a carry, which is damn near 5 yards a carry, right? Which is great. That is great production out of your run game. And I believe that is the year that Damian Harris put up 15 touchdowns on the ground, which is more than any year Josh Jacobs has put up. And last year, even though we put up a whole bunch of yards in the run game, we were still, I want to say, tied for 22nd in terms of rushing touchdowns. So not like we were really scoring in the run game, right? So now I think we have the leverage here. If Josh Jacobs, if this is a play for more money, then the most ridiculous thing he can do is essentially throw away $10 million, not get paid, and then like lose that money, essentially burning $10 million. And the thing about it is, if he does sit out, not like he sits out and he's free next year, if he sits out the year, then this year tolls. So it goes on to next year. So he'll be in this exact same position next year, only having, basically thrown away $10 million. So he's not in a great position. I will say one thing that does hurt the Raiders is that with that $10 million, since we did offer that tender, we can't use that money. So that's what affects us here. But it's not like, I don't know how many more moves we were planning on making anyway as an organization going into this next year. I think our roster is pretty much set. We'll probably some moves on the edges. I think the only big splash move that we'd make is maybe for Marcus Peters, but the Raiders may decide through this camp that they want to go with these young guys. They brought in Faison, they brought in Shelley, they retained Hall, they got Nate Hobbs coming back. They have Sam Webb who's coming back, who's a guy who I think they like. So I don't know how many more moves they'd be looking to make anyway. So Josh Jacobs and his team, they're not in a great situation, right? They're not in a great situation. So we will see how things go today. I'm hoping Josh Jacobs comes back. I like him as a player, but I think smart teams don't pay running backs. We see Joe Mixon just renegotiated his contract. Teams that usually give contracts, big contracts to running backs, usually aren't well-run organizations. The Titans gave Derrick Henry a fairly large deal. That GM's now unemployed. The Panthers gave Christian McCaffrey a big deal, and they ended up having to trade him because they were a horrible team. Cowboys gave Ezekiel Elliott a big deal. Need I say more? So I think the Raiders should set a number and not go above that number. And I think it should be a fair market deal. I think he should be getting about what Zeke Elliott, not Zeke Elliott, about what Joe Mixon was getting, because he's in that same tier of back, and I think we should keep it there. Like I said, man, it's not a great situation for Josh. If he holds out, he loses that $10 million, and I think he does some great damage to his future value, because teams aren't going to really want a running back that has coming off sitting a year. You might say, oh, he has more tread on the tires, but losing a year of NFL competition, that is never a good thing. Especially, I mean, you never want to do that. You never want to do that. We saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. I think teams will be scared off after having seen what happened with Le'Veon Bell, and I think that would greatly affect Josh Jacobs as a player on the market. So, I'm just hoping this thing gets resolved, man. I want him back in the fold. I think this team has the ability to surprise some people next year, and I really want Josh Jacobs to be part of it. But I also understand that we have to operate more intelligently as an organization. We've spent far too many years, just essentially wasting money in free agency, trying to build a team and not building it in the correct way. So you're not going to build the team the right way. It is eventually going to come back to bite you in the butt. Look at what happened with this Gruden team, right? It wasn't built the correct way. It wasn't built through the draft. It wasn't built with smart contracts. And now we're paying the price. We're still paying for Kenyon Drake. We're still paying for Corey Littleton. Still paying for several other guys. I want to say we're still paying for what's my guy, the defensive end whose name escapes me, from Cleveland. I can't think of his name right now, but I want to say we're still paying for him as well. So when you aren't building this team the right way, man, it hurts you, man, and it hurts you not only in the present, but it hurts you in the future, right? We're dealing with all this dead money because of bad decisions we made over the past 2 or 3 years, and it is affecting our ability to build a viable team now. So that's why you have to kind of get this stuff in order, and it's especially difficult for Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, because they not only have to deal with these cap ramifications for these previously bad teams, but also try to build a winner, because they're coming into a hostile environment with the Raider fan base already. A lot of them already being against those guys. So they have to set themselves up for present success and for future success, while also making sure they actually win games. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you've been left a humongous mess, an older roster that's not really full of players that were acquired during the draft. So man, it is a tough task. I think they are up to it. I think we brought them in here for a reason. But today is decision day, so we will see what happens. You guys give me your comments in the your thoughts in the comment section. Should we essentially give Josh Jacobs whatever he wants to bring him back? Should we stand firm? Will he hold out? Will he actually sign that franchise tender? You guys let me know what you think. Till next time, you guys, I'm Outro. You guys stay safe. See you later.